Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 12, Episode number 25. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us for this Monday show, Dave. And we're the Jinx. Dave, we're talking about hoping to root for the 2-0 Pittsburgh Steelers start. And instead, they're 1-1, which I suspect is how most people envision the first two games of the season to go. They just didn't expect it to be the win over the Bills and the loss at home to the Raiders, as was the case 26-17 Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, had him there myself, just not in that particular order or you know how it transpired there for sure. And I just want to let everybody know I'm fighting through a groin injury today, so get in line, right? No, right. In all seriousness though, a lot of groin injuries, and Alex, we might have to entitle this episode "Your Groin and You."
Yeah, was that the joke that you made, or Dr. Mel? I forget who made that.
Dr. Mel did last night, and I think she's got an article. I don't know if you posted it yet. It's going up soon on Steelers Depot talking about groin injuries. So no more speculation on I speculated yesterday that Joe Hayden would play through that groin injury. He did not, and neither did Devin Bush. So that's, I guess, maybe a sign of things to come throughout the day. There is you had two guys inactive in Joe Hayden and Devin Bush, and also you had a third guy injured, inactive, that was already ruled out in Carlos Davis. And boy, the way that game transpired, they probably could have sure used him at one point yesterday there. So 1-1 Steelers right now, and boy, the AFC North, everybody 1-1. So here we go.
Yeah, before we get into the game itself and talk about the reason why the Steelers disappointingly lost this one, let's talk about some of the inactives and then the elephant in the room being all the injuries that transpired before and after the game. So as you mentioned, Joe Hayden, Devin Bush, who suffered groin injuries sometime around Friday's practice, and both were listed as questionable. Both, I think, went through pre-game warm-ups, but neither played against the Raiders. You had Carlos Davis being held out as well. He was ruled out earlier in the week. And then you get into the game itself and you suffer two significant injuries as well. TJ Watt with a groin injury himself in the first half did not play the rest of the game. And the big one that came very early, 6-7 plays into the game, I believe it was, is Tyson Alualu, the nose tackle who got rolled up into by Watt. Unfortunately, just a freak play, and it is reportedly a fractured ankle that, according to Jerry Dulac, will keep him out of the rest of the season. Alualu's already undergone surgery, according to a post shown on Instagram. Now, Dr. Mel did have an article on him last night, and you can check that out on Steelers Depot, that is a little more optimistic, saying that there's a chance he could return later in the season. But regardless, Tyson Alualu, a big key in the middle, will be out for, at the minimum, a very extended period of time.
Yeah, for a very, very extended amount of time. And we'll see if he can make it back by the end of the season. And, at his age and all right now, and yes, he is under contract through, I think, next season there. And, boy, it was good to get him re-signed during the offseason. He, of course, was the one that originally agreed to terms with the Jacksonville Jaguars, only to have kind of COVID interrupt that. And he thought about it, decided to re-sign with the Steelers, and you just hate to the first few snaps of that game, and I was about to post on Twitter too. Boy, Tyson Alualu is going to really probably embarrass somebody today. He just looked like he was off to a good start in those first couple of defensive snaps in the game, only to have him go, just a freak thing, like you said. Go in there, and Watt's flying through on the other side, and you can plainly see the injury happen there. The ankle get trapped up underneath a falling Watt there, and the way he was kind of helped off the field there and couldn't put any pressure on that right ankle, you knew something was up there, and it didn't take long for the fractured report to surface. So now you kind of wonder at this point. Hopefully he gets back later on in the season, but if he doesn't, man, have we seen the last snaps of Tyson Alualu?
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see how he recovers. Obviously, he's been playing unbelievably well to me the past 2 years, and like, as you said, he's under contract for next season. So we'll see. I haven't really put my mind into that space, just hoping there's a way he can come back. But yeah, what a just underrated player of this defense across the league, and the just the epitome of durability. The guy had missed 4 career games in the 12 years leading up to this season, and now he's going to be lost for potentially the next 15. And so it's going to be weird for him to be injured in this way. He's such a tough player. I mean, he battled through that MCL sprain last season, a high ankle sprain as well, missed only 1 game. Obviously, you can't battle your way through a fractured ankle, but such an underrated player, versatile player, hand in the pile, do everything kind of guy. And obviously, he's not as talented as Cam Hayward or Stephon Tuitt, but his loss is still, to me, really significant. And it'll now be on Isaiah Buggs to be the next man up at nose tackle.
Yeah, or Carlos Davis. We'll have to see if Carlos can make it back from the from that knee injury. How long he'll be sidelined there as well too. And at some point this week, obviously, who knows? It might even happen later on today. Alu will be placed on injured reserve, and who takes his place? You'd have to think it's Henry Mondeau would be the next guy up, right?
Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah, I mean, obviously, when it comes to the base 3-4 nose tackle, I think Buggs will still assume those duties because he's done that for the entire summer. He's the better run defender than Carlos Davis. When you're talking about sub-package rushers, then you're looking at Carlos Davis having more of an impact there, in addition to Chris Wormley and probably Mondo at some point as well. And obviously, hopefully, whenever Stephon Tuitt comes back, then that'll mitigate some of that sub-package loss as well. So I think the way they were placed at the start is Buggs is that base 3-4 nose tackle, and then Davis is the primary sub-package rusher.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes, but neither one of them are Tyson Alu, that's for sure.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, DJ Watt's groin injury, as you mentioned, and yeah, by the time people listening to this, the article from Dr. Mel is going to be up on Steelers Depot. So obviously depth at outside linebackers, pretty decent. You still had Alex Highsmith and Melvin Ingram, but that was just an unfortunate thing. And in Mel's estimation, and I agree with her 100%, this is not related to him missing time during the summer and the whole contract hold and stuff and all that kind of thing. It's just one of those freak injuries that just happens in football.
Yeah, but that's not going to fit the narrative, Alex.
I'm aware.
It's all going to start getting pointed to. Well, had he participated more during training camp when all this wouldn't have happened. Look.
Well, I think Joe Hayden and Devin Bush participated. They seem to suffer groin injuries.
Right, but they also didn't. They weren't weighted down with all that money either.
That's a fair point.
All right, so you got to make sure you get your narrative straight there. But look, I mean, this is I've looked at that play a few times, at least the replay, because it's hard, I think, to see the original TV angle on that. We'll have to see what see that angle from the all 22, but it just looked like one of those freak kind of steps and tweak the groin, and obviously it would have to been serious enough to keep that guy out of the game there. So the big question now is with guys like him and Hayden and Devin Bush is how long, and obviously got a divisional game coming up in week 3 against the Bengals, and that's groin injuries aren't anything to play around with, or else you'll be sidelined for 5 or 6 weeks there. So I guess we won't be surprised if Watt is limited or does not practice at all this week, and we'll have to see where that leads him. So I look forward, and I think the readers should as well too, to read the post that Dr. Mel has coming up on Monday on it.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, Watt, I'm not sure what his status will be for the Bengals game. I suspect pretty strongly that Devin Bush and Joe Hayden will be able to play in that game. If they were testing things out in pregame warm-ups on Sunday, even though they ultimately could not play, I think with an extra week of rehab and rest and things like that, they'll probably be good to go. So Watt, I'm not sure of. I think it's 50-50. I think Hayden and Bush should be back for the Bengals game.
All right. Well, I Dr. Kozora, I hope you're correct.
Yeah. Well, you get what you pay for when you listen to my medical advice. So we'll see what happens. All right, Dave. Anything else you want to talk about pregame or non-specifically game related before we jump into this disappointing loss the Steelers had yesterday?
Well, a couple guys got helmets, right, for the first time this season.
Right.
Robert Spillane was back after being a late scratch in week 1 with his shin injury. Rookie Isaiah Loudermilk dressed for the first time and actually saw some snaps in the game there. And Akello Witherspoon dressed with Joe Hayden being inactive. And Buddy Johnson dressed for a second week in a row as well too there. So the other inactives were the easy ones with Carlos Davis being ruled out of the game. Dwayne Haskins, obviously the third quarterback, was inactive in that game. And who was the other one there? Oh, Rashard Coward again down once again there. So 2 weeks in a row that the Steelers have not elevated anybody or signed anybody off the practice squad, but there will at least be one signing, we think, off the practice squad this week in Henry Mondeau, and we'll have to see what the rest of the week plays out. You only have 3 outside linebackers right now healthy, and if Watt's not able to go on Sunday against the Bengals, you would think that you're going to have a promotion there quite possibly.
Yeah, probably a guy like Derek Tuska could get the call up, who was signed to the Steelers practice squad after the preseason, after cutdowns, and has had some time with Denver as a special teamer and a couple snaps on defense as well. So that could be an option, but we'll go and see what the status of TJ Watt is and take it from there.
Do you consider maybe bringing back Cassius Marsh?
I mean, maybe. I think maybe we probably just would promote from within of the guys who've been in the building and probably maybe a little more game shape ready. And I mean, there was a reason why they chose Tuska over Marsh in the first place, I assume. So that probably hasn't changed their stance at all.
I'm trying to filibuster here. Does this mean we have to talk about the game now?
I think it does. Let's talk about it, Dave. 26-17, and the Raiders continue to be the Steelers' kryptonite. And I know both of us picked Pittsburgh to win this game, and so we're both 0-2 in picking games on this season. But I think we both recognize that we've been down this road before of should have a relatively comfortable win over the Raiders, should be the favorites, home opener, all that kind of stuff. And we've been down this road before of a disappointing and bitter loss to the Las Vegas Raiders, and this is a much better Raiders team than teams of past years this team has lost to. But regardless, 26-17, and it was a similar story as the Bills game, to be honest with you. An offense with a slow start, a defense that tried to keep the score down, but eventually all the injuries his team was dealing with, had allowed some big plays defensively, and the offense never really got it in gear enough, and you did not get that splash play on special teams or something the way that you did against the Bills to win that one. So it was, generally speaking, to me, a very similar storyline as week 1, but you just didn't have the timely plays. You were allowing the big plays instead of making those 1 or 2 key big plays, which is why they lost this one as opposed to winning the opener.
All right, before we go any further here, is this whole injury thing going to be the crutch that people are going to carry around for the next at least few days to get them to Sunday? Because if so, I don't want any part of that, because you see what the Baltimore Ravens have gone through so far this season, and look what they did on Sunday night, coming back and beating the Chiefs in that game. The NFL is full of, you never know when they're going to happen, but you're going to deal with injuries, and it sucks to not have your best defensive player lose him through the first quarter in TJ Watt. Yeah, it sucked to not have a veteran guy like Joe Hayden out there, and a starter in Devin Bush. But come on, folks, look around the NFL and pay attention to what's going on. There are a lot of teams out there that have lost a lot of players right now, and that's why you carry a 53-man roster, and that's why you carry 16 guys on the practice squad to help you through some of those times. And I don't want any part of but if this guy hadn't got injured, then things would have been better. So let us proceed after as I get down off of my soapbox here.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm with you as well. Obviously, you can talk about the injuries and how they impact this team, and are certainly difficult to overcome. But as you said, you don't want to use that as the crutch, because this was a Raiders team that is dealing with their own injuries. They were missing both of their starting guards against a really good Steelers pass rush. They were, coming on a short week on the road, played a Monday night game in overtime. They have their own problems. As you said, Baltimore with as many injuries as any team in football, coming back to upset the Chiefs. So the injuries, didn't caused the Steelers offense to again do next to nothing in this one. They didn't cause the touchdown to Henry Ruggs or Minka Fitzpatrick got put out of position and things like that. So I think certainly you can talk about it, but as you said, it cannot be the crutch or the sole or main reason why this team lost this game.
Yeah, the Raiders even lost Leatherwood about halftime in that game as well too, and
so they were on 3 backup offensive linemen in this game.
Yeah, and how many times have we seen the Steelers not be able to overcome that? Jaguars, a couple of years ago, I think in a playoff game, that's why you have those deep rosters there. All right, where do you want to start?
Well,
offense,
what side of the
defense, or
okay. Well, I guess let's start with the Steelers offense, just because to me it was just more of the same. And I had an article this morning, a little cheeky title. It was the Steelers offense, out with the old, in with the old, instead of in with the new, because we're seeing a lot of the same issues of an offense that's been inefficient, a run game that's been generally non-existent, a deep ball that's been haphazard, and just a really poor start for the Steelers offense. The first 2 games of the season, 7 points in the first half combined, they're worse since 1997. That is really kind of hamstringing this offense, and to me, it comes down to just really poor 1st and 10 play. This team is 3rd worst in terms of yards gained on 1st and 10, and that's creating long third down situations, which they're 37.5% on the year, and it's just really hamstringing this offense as a whole.
Yeah, and they can't. And part of that, obviously, too, coming out of the gate there, can't run the football. Look, we knew this thing would be clunky coming out of shoot here. This was a little bit lower than clunky. I think overall running the football. Look, they did have a nice run in there. Najee had a 14 of his 38 rushing yards. I think came on a nice counter run where we saw some. Probably not off the snap because there was some penetration early that even Freiermuth had to avoid there. But you get past that garbage in the backfield there. Freiermuth going up through, making a nice block, and you had guys out front. Even I think Gentry on one side and Chukwuma Okorafor on the other side had guys kind of manned up there, and a nice little lane for Najee Harris to run through. So they can run, they can pop one every now and again. It's just for every one, it seems like there's 4 failed runs. Now, they did have a little bit better run success rate overall, but the sample size, especially when it came to the running backs specifically, you only had 12 running back runs in the game for a grand total of 39 yards. And what was it? I think maybe five of those runs were successful, and a few of those running back runs, I think, was a 2nd and 4 for 2 yards, obviously gaining 50% of the yardage. So, it's important that it's, the context is there. Yeah, the run success rate was a little bit better there, but also the sample size not there either. And as we talked about, you run successful early, it usually leads to you having opportunities to run successful late. Well, they didn't have the opportunities to run successful late. And here we are, 2 games into the season right now. Juju Smith-Schuster, you know what? They need to get Juju Smith-Schuster with some more carries, don't they? 1 for 1 on successful runs. He leads the team in rushing touchdowns. If you had that on your bingo card, congratulations there. But just a mess overall, and I think you kind of put it, summed it up good in that morning post there. Individually, probably player by player, not. There are some positives there when it comes to some of these offensive linemen, but collectively, it's just the group's not there, and you're just having too many fails, I think. And yeah, Najee Harris, best running back. I still no issues whatsoever saying that Najee Harris was the best running back in this year's draft class, but you just can't throw him out there and let him do it all. But on the flip side, all these other teams around the NFL, Alex, it seems for the last 2 to 3 seasons, other teams just run at will. You look at the Baltimore Ravens, look at the mess that they have over there with the 3 new running backs that they have and all the issues they've had on the offensive line. And yeah, I know Lamar Jackson changes the dynamic, gives you something else to think about there. But boy, they had those 3 backs had something like 90 yards, I think, combined in the first half or into the third quarter there. It just seems like all these teams have more success running the football with their running backs than the Steelers do. And if they don't figure this out, and this is something that I was high on heading into this season. Ben Roethlisberger was low on my list as far as concerns. It's offensive line, it's run success rate, and it's defensive play. And then Roethlisberger on the list. And right now, they can't not run the football consistently at all. And then we'll get to the defense in a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And you think about some of the individual parts, as you made the comment, of this team. Najee Harris, to me, has played well. There is talent on the O-line. Kendrick Green has showed the nasty streak, and Dan Moore has held his own, and we know the talent of Kevin Dodson. And to me, Trey Turner's looked a bit better than what I thought whenever he's not getting ejected from games. We'll talk about that here momentarily. So why has this rushing attack been so poor? Because the pieces seem like they're there, but it does seem to be that continuity and consistency and coming together and that kind of an issue. And they play two decent run defenses, and the Raiders stack the box and things like that. So I understand maybe there's an element of play at that as well, but you can't use that as just the exception and just say, okay, that's lay down and we just won't run the ball today. The whole mantra of this offseason was do everything you can to run the ball more effectively. And so will things improve? I think that it will, but how quickly and how much will things improve? To me, I cannot answer right now.
And yeah, I get it. Look, you better. Teams are stacking the box. Having that extra defender in there. We heard, Najee even confirmed that last week, saying they have the extra hat in there. And I think, the tape's going to show in this game there, too, an extra defender down low a little bit more as well, too. You better figure out a way to run against it. Either that or you better find a way to start attacking the middle of the field with getting single high looks deeper down the field to kind of to lessen, to make teams think twice about maybe doing that. You either better figure out one way to do one of those two things. If not, you're going to get a lot of the same stuff going on in here right now. Teams know or don't have an issue with playing, I think, a lot of middle of the field safeties and kind of trying to get the Steelers to address that extra hat and all. And even in the game against the Bills, the Steelers got and Najee talked about that failed run as well too. You block it up pretty good. You have Najee get one-on-one with that nickel cornerback, and he didn't see him, and he gets kind of, and lets the smaller player kind of stick him there instead of run over him there. And those are the kind of things that you can't have. And look, we already know with Najee Harris, he's not a guy that's probably going to bust a lot of 20-yard runs on you, right? Mm-hmm. At least he didn't at the college level, even behind great offensive line that he ran behind at Alabama there. So you have to take advantage of him getting those 10 to 12-yard runs and stack those. And right now it's hard for him to even get those. Yeah, he showed a lot of great traits yesterday on a few of those runs, but they're just so inconsistent that. I mean, and a few of those going for 1 or 0 or lost yardage, and especially on first down, as you noted, that kills you, man. I mean, you're in second and long, and what do? You get criticized if you run on second 8 or more and fail. And what happens if you try to, throw and you have an incomplete pass there? Well, then you're in third and long situation. So they have got to figure out a way to run on first down when teams know they're running on first down.
3.9 yards per play on 1st and 10 through 2 games. That's 30th in the NFL. Only the Bears and shockingly the Saints are worse at 3.5. And so this team was like 27th in this category last year at 5.0 yards per play. And so that number to me is the big number. And until that number gets better, the rest of the offense is not going to improve and make the strides that it needs to. They averaged 3.6, 3.3 yards on 1st and 10 yesterday against the Raiders. And so it has to get better. And it's not that I'm asking this team to be the Ravens or be some sort of top 5 powerhouse rushing attack. Just be efficient and competent and even average. And to me, if you have a decent passing offense and a really good defense, that's a good enough to really be competitive in the AFC North. But at this point, the rushing attack, again, despite all that newness, is among the worst in football.
People think I just pull out this 50% run success rate out of my, out of thin air and continue to harp on it for just for the sake of doing it. But it's real, man. And especially it's real when you don't have a quarterback that can register a good completed air yard distance down the field there. If you don't have that from a quarterback, and the Steelers don't and aren't, at least until they get the run success rate going, then that's all you have there. And once again, like you said, all we're talking about is 4 yards on 1st and 10, Alex. 4 yards.
What's the success rate through 2 games? I know it was 6-16 in week 1 or something like that. What's the overall number through 2 weeks?
Not in front of me, but it's under 50. It's like 45%, I think, 46%. I don't have.
What was the number last year? About the same?
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. I'll have to look. Okay. I don't want to quote my wrong numbers here because I look at a lot of that stuff from team to team every week.
Right. No, I understand. Yeah. They're 2.8 yards on 1st and 10 running the football this season. That is, again, I believe, was 30th in the NFL. They were 3.6 last season, which was 31st. And so, again, I don't want to deny that things will get better because I believe things will get better. As you said, as this team has admitted basically from the get-go, there were going to be a lot of growing pains with this offense. But NFL is a short season, man. Like, it's hard. You can't have growing pains for half the season and expect to be able to battle your way through it with how tough of a schedule and how tough of an AFC North this is. And it doesn't answer the 2 big questions, like I mentioned earlier, of, how quickly will things begin to get better and how much will they get better? Because those are the 2 questions that really matter the most. How quickly things change and how much better they actually change. Because if you just improve by small amounts, that doesn't really help you out a whole lot. You have to improve from where this team is currently at, quite a noticeable margin.
And look, it's not for the lack of trying. They've got Pat Freiermuth out there now more than they have Eric Ebron, because they know he's obviously the better blocker there. Now, what some of the pushback, I'm sure some people are saying right now was, where the hell is Derek Watt at? That's a mighty expensive special teams player, is it not? Right now, and how many offensive snaps did he play yesterday? You want to guess?
I think it might have been 0.
It was 0. You are correct, sir.
What do I win? Rushing attack.
A year's supply of turtle wax. That might even go over your head. You watch the Game Show Network, don't you? No?
I do, but I don't know that specific. I just know the big, long microphones that were in vogue in the 70s.
Well, the big thing back in 70s on into the 80s and all back there on all the game shows, one of the prizes, kind of complimentary prizes, was a year's supply of turtle wax. And that was a big catchphrase there during that time. But the Steelers get no year's supply of turtle wax there. And people for asking, they also don't get any Derek Watt. You go back to several years ago when the Steelers had, I like to bounce around in that 2010 tape every once in a while, and they ran a lot of 21 and 22 personnel back in those days, right? And, makes you kind of wonder. The thing is, if Derek Watt's on the field, then somebody's not on the field. So who do you want off the field in those situations? And you're probably going to have to choose from either Chase Claypool or Juju Smith-Schuster, right? So let's assume you go that way. But on the flip side, we have seen offenses around the league, McVay and I think Shanahan do an awfully great job of running a lot of things out of a 21 or 22 personnel group that look a lot the same, and they even pass out of it as well too. So I'm not saying that's the answer, but if we get a couple more games into this thing and we having a run success rate, that's low, that's also leading to not a lot of volume in it, then maybe you want to think about changing some things up there. And the motion doesn't seem to be doing. People don't seem to be, or opposing defenses don't seem to be too concerned about all that window dressing that seems to be going on right now with the Steelers offense as well too. So they better figure it out, because if they don't early in the season, we've talked about the early part of this schedule for the Steelers is the part where they better jump on it a little bit there, because if they don't, then the back end of the season's a lot tougher.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly open to seeing Derek Watt a little bit. He's been healthy. It's not like last year where he got dinged up a lot and just wasn't really available to be used. So, I mean, I think you should probably see it a little bit more. But this goes back to what I thought about once Zach Banner went down. If you want this run game to be effective, Chukwuma Okorafor as your starting right tackle when you're a right-handed run team, as almost every team in the league is not going to produce good results. And I'm not putting it all on Okorafor. That would be unfair to do, obviously. But Joe Haeg is your best run-blocking offensive lineman, maybe on the entire team right now. And he's not playing in a 6th offensive lineman role and obviously a right tackle role or anything like that. So not that I'm expecting this team to make a change, but it goes back to the article I wrote. If you want to run the football better, which is the whole point of this offseason, Joe Haeg probably should be playing right now.
Well, here's the thing. Just on the TV tape alone, and it's dangerous to do, always, you see a lot more stuff when you get the All-22. And it's not saying much, but Chukwuma Okorafor might have been the Steelers' best offensive lineman in that game yesterday.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, I know he got trucked once by Max Crosby, but I don't want to let one play color the entire performance.
Right. So, I mean, don't once again.
But as a run blocker, do you think he was effective? There was one, I think, second level play that I saw make, which was impressive. But as a run blocker, how much is he contributing?
Well, I mean, I think across the board, look, I mean, the run blocking as a whole wasn't great, right? I mean, Kendrick Green, quite honestly, might have been the best run blocker yesterday, and that's not saying a lot either. But I think across the board, there were about 2 or 3 plays that I thought stood out for Okorafor. Once again, I'm not saying that it was like leaps and bounds sending him to the Pro Bowl type performance. I'm just saying the TV tape, at least in my head, I came away thinking Okorafor might have been the best of the 5, in all phases.
So why do you think this run game is struggling as much as it is?
They can't get that. There's always seems to be some penetration or one defender that they can't account for.
Okay.
At least.
Yeah. No,
at least.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that's just a part of the defensive stack in the box, or do you think that's just the offense not executing properly?
Just not executing properly and not getting it blocked up properly.
That's been the issue with this team for a couple years now.
I mean, look, go look at that big run by Najee, and there's some penetration between Dotson and Green in that gap there, and that almost blew up the entire play there. And in fact, Freiermuth has to thank God, if Freiermuth gets caught up in that, then the whole play goes south there, because he doesn't get to inside the hole there and make the block that he made, and that little crease right there is what allowed Najee to slip through there. So yeah, I mean, look, is every play going to be perfect? That's why you have a good running back, to avoid some of that trash sometimes in the backfield, right? That's what sets apart some of these running backs at the college level going into the pros, their ability to make plays out of nothing. But you can't expect a running back to do that 10 of the 13 carries there. But it always seems like they don't get somebody blocked up enough, and that one player is the one that's making a play there for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. And that's one of the issues this team has had. And I think one reason why Sean Surratt got let go. But it's one issue that is yet to be fixed, unfortunately. It needs to be fixed, obviously.
I mean, look, we see Kendrick Green in the aggressor. Look, there's going to be another two nice pancakes, I think, on this tape for him. But what's happening on the other 18 running plays,
Right. I mean, as we said, that aggression, that finish is foundational stuff, and that's really important, but it can't be the only thing. It can't just be highlights of the occasional pancake. It has to be something much better than that. And again, as a collective 5, it's not just about one guy finishing his block. It's about a collective 5 winning consistently enough to produce, again, a competent, even to me, average running game. I'll take that at this point.
Yeah, they're going to have to find, they run a lot of that counter. It's like a lot of teams see that counter coming, you know. They don't near that, to me, they don't run near enough power, G power or power. Of course, they could probably run 50. It probably wouldn't be enough for me, but
I think, have you seen enough motion from this offense? I feel like I haven't necessarily.
No,
It
no,
kind of got away.
and when they do, it's like I said, all that window dressing just doesn't seem to phase any defense.
Right. But that seems to be like the best way for this offense to reduce, if they're even in the box count to get a guy on block to take someone away with some of that motion. And I just haven't really seen a lot of that outside the opening script.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. They're going to have to figure it out, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because either if you can't block it up well enough as an O-line, then you got to start doing something creative to try to overcome that. And obviously on the Juju touchdown, you saw that they had some interesting wrinkle there. They go spread, they end up bunching to heavy and run the jet there with Juju. But maybe we need to see more of that. I don't know. But we do recognize the problem. It's an obvious one. Clearly that this run game is not improved so far, and it needs to be for this offense to get anywhere. We talked about if Ben has to run the whole show again, this team is not going to succeed. That was the downfall of the team last season. And so this run game has to get better. And to me, it starts on 1st and 10 because they are among the worst teams running or throwing on 1st and 10. And that's creating 3rd and long, which is getting you off the field. It's not allowing drives to continue. It's stalling out drives, et cetera, and it's leaving an offense that's averaging 16.5 points per game through the first 2 weeks.
Right. And man, at least you do not need a strong running game to utilize play action to make play action work. So stop with the they don't, play action won't work because they don't have a running game. Stop it. There's been studies done on that absolutely prove the opposite. So why not, need to, and they have been using some play action, but I mean, most of the time we're still seeing Ben most of the time in shotgun, I think, when using it. It'd be nice to see more of that under center stuff. I'm almost not convinced that this team needs to seriously consider some, using the fullback a little bit more and trying to run a lot of stuff out of 21 personnel.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about situationally when you use some of that stuff, but we've seen basically none of it so far. So I think we probably should start seeing some of it to try to do something different, as a different way to attack and try to improve this run game, even if it's just for 3 or 4 plays a game.
Right. I mean, I would try to come out for a series maybe and try to go that route. Right. Because obviously, once again, if you have a guy like Derek White on the field, then somebody's got to be off of it. And now you could do a lot of different things with moving some guys around. And, obviously we'll see what happens when a guy like McFarland gets back and all like that. I'm not convinced that Pony is the answer here, to be honest with you. But, maybe something that'll at least make defenses think a little bit if you put, McFarland or Najee, line them up out wide. And, why aren't we seeing more of that even? Okay, if you can't run the football and you don't want to take your running back off the field and go, that route, then, you need to start putting them outside and maybe start using Najee a little bit more in the passing game. And the short James Conner dump-off game, and probably not using him enough in the passing game.
No, I agree. I don't think there's been enough design plays to get him the ball in space in the pass game, the way that there was, for example, Le'Veon Bell. Well, that was routine. It's been some checkdowns and had the touchdown yesterday, which was a great play. But yeah, this is a big guy in space. Get him one-on-one with a linebacker or a DB. He's going to do some damage. You saw what he did to Jonathan Abram yesterday. That's one of the meanest stiff arms I've ever seen. And of course, had the touchdown on 3rd and 10, which was a crucial play for Pittsburgh. So yeah, I'm with you there as well. So to kind of get off the running game for a second, I understand the Steelers game plan, and we talked about this on Friday, that this is a single high Raiders team. So to win vertically, to win the pass game, you're going to need to take shots on the outside against single high. The middle of the field will be closed in this game. And it was just inconsistent. They hit a couple chunk plays to Deontay and Claypool, but what was the stat? Ben was 2 of 8 with an interception on throws 20-plus yards downfield, I believe was the number.
Mm-hmm. You would be correct. And just a common theme right now teams have in defending against him and that kind of stuff. Ben season. Ben just does not want to attack the middle of the field, and there, there are some cover one beaters sometimes that you can have on deep digs and stuff like that, and stuff where you kind of influence the safety and all, and we're just not seeing that. And it's almost like oil in the water there that has that has the black pepper kind of separated. You ever do that that science experiment? What is it? The soap in the forget. I didn't do good in science.
I'm picking up on that.
You do the black pepper in the water, and I think you take the soap and you put it in there, and then all the black pepper goes off to the side. Anyway, the middle of the field is almost a deterrent for Roethlisberger, especially 20 yards down the field, and really starting at about 12 yards down the field. It is. I mean, you look at the passing charts, and it's obvious that that guy stays as far away outside of the hash marks as he possibly can. So, do you need to get your tight end running vertically a little bit more and try to attack the field that way? I mean, last week we talked about a curl route on Pat Freiermuth just past the 10-yard mark and almost bought a cake to celebrate it, Those are the kind of things that teams, I think, dare you to do in certain instances with single high that you probably need to think about different ways to maybe try to attack that. And it's tough. I mean, I know it is, but when you and I can sit here and say single high, Ben's going to go outside and 50-50 ball, and unless somebody wins deep on the outside, make no mistake about it, the Steelers don't have a Mike Wallace or a Martavis Bryant type of guy that just runs past people. Now Claypool did a great job in that game yesterday on one of those deep throws of stacking and getting a little separation. And then we saw Deontay Johnson have one down the left side as well too. Another good situation with him of stacking, and then last minute kind of using that I call it the Antonio Brown arm and getting you a little bit of last second separation with the ball in the air. But those seem to really be less than 50-50 balls, to be quite honest with you. And you had the what if situation on the deep pass down that one side to Chase Claypool in the end zone. I don't know how you feel about that. I mean, it hit the wide receiver, and he had to contort his body, and he got both hands on it. Should you come down with that?
Yeah, it's a really tough play. I thought they'd been thrown a little bit better by Ben, to be honest with you. But, Claypool has a skill set to make some of those plays. He needs to make those plays more consistently. I mean, the catch he had was fantastic. I'm not expecting him to catch every single one of those. That's why they're called 50-50 balls. But this offense needs to hit those plays downfield more often because they have the talent to do so.
You go back to his college tape, what was one of the things that stuck out with him? It was contested catches and really body contortion type catches more than 20 yards down the field with Chase Claypool, right?
Mm-hmm. And he's flashed that. I mean, he did that. He's flashed it both.
Sure,
weeks
he's done it, but we need to see a little bit more. If that's his calling card, and look, could the ball been put inside a little bit more? Yeah, it certainly could have. But even so, he did get two hands on the football. Right.
Yeah,
and it was a nice play by the defensive back, yada yada. But that guy's paid to try to disrupt that last second too. But before that ball even comes down, where that DB can kind of make a play on it, it did hit both of Chase Claypool's hands. So,
right.
I mean, this is the NFL, right?
Sure. With the middle of the field, do you think those chances are there and Ben's just not looking towards them, or do you think it's like being schemed for him to have those chances?
I mean, you can't. There's only so much you can see on the TV tape, especially with this game. So, let's talk a little bit more about that on Wednesday.
Okay. But yeah, that was the idea for this offense, was to take those shots vertically, and they did hit them occasionally, but probably not consistently enough. And again, without a run game and without a deep pass game, this offense felt a lot like last year, where there was, again, that small menu of the short, medium, 3-step game, 5-step game. That's the only thing that seems to be working, and it's not even probably working as well right now as it was last season.
Look, you had let's look at your explosive play count in this game yesterday. It was 4 for the Steelers in total, 20 yards or more. One deep left to Claypool for 52 yards. We already referenced that. Another one was that deep left to Deontay Johnson for 41 yards. The Najee Harris was a nice catch and run. That was throw short, run long. Thankfully, that one paid off there. And the other one was a short pass to Pat Freiermuth that I think included a penalty on top of it, because I think it went for 8 yards, and I think there was a 15-yard or something penalty on top of it. Was there not?
I believe so. That sounds right.
All right. So I'm trying to remember who was that. That was there was a roughing. Wasn't there a roughing call in there on that one?
Yeah, we're Ben against Ben, right? Roughing the passer call. I think
Right. So yeah. I mean, so one of those 4 came off of a penalty for the Raiders, an explosive play, and then one was the touchdown. And once again, look, we saw some nice things from Najee, in this game, throwing that defensive back to the side over there on the side on an early play there, and then obviously the touchdown was a great effort on his part there. But we've got to see, if you can't run the football, you better be able to explosive play down the field, and that's 4 yesterday, and that wasn't nearly enough, especially when the Raiders had something like 6 of them,
Right.
So.
For sure. Yeah, and just overall, they're just not possessing the football enough. They've been getting killed in the time of possession battle each of the first 2 weeks against the Bills. They possessed the ball for under 27 minutes. Yesterday against the Raiders, it was 25 and a half minutes. They're 27th in time of possession right now. That's speaking to the inconsistency on third downs, struggles on first down. It's putting a lot of pressure and stress on a defense that's very good but can only do so much, and certainly with the injuries yesterday did not help matters. And so this team is just not – they're not running a lot of plays right now, so they can't get into a rhythm and flow and take controls of games, and that's been the big issue, obviously, the first 2 games.
And to me, and we'll see what the charting and all says and all, or what the stats say. It looked like the Raiders rushed 4 most of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they got home pretty effectively.
Sure did. Ben took a lot of shots in that game, and that pace can't keep up either. I mean, for at his age, and boy, there was one I wasn't sure he was going to get up from one of those there. And they probably missed a shot to the head on Ben on one of those. Yeah, those are going to happen, unfortunately, in those situations. But how about trying to keep those guys off the quarterback period there? And I mean, it's a mess all the way around, and they're going to have to try to get more in a quicker rhythm type offense, I think. I know Ben's not huge on the RPOs and all, but they do still run quite a bit of them. They just, a lot of times it seems like he just likes to go to the outside, on a swing pass or something on some of those there, or a quick slant, that gets 6 yards or something like that. But yeah, it's a mess right now, Alex, and until they can figure out a way to either get Ben Roethlisberger's, completed air yard distance over 7.5, which isn't probably going to happen on a game-to-game basis, or they figure out a way to run the football, I think you're going to have a lot of this. I mean, it's clunky, man, and it's been clunky for 2.5 years, it seems like.
Right. It really has. And so the assumption that I had, kind of what I thought would happen this year, was that the pass pro would be worse than last year, but the run blocking would be better. The pass pro has been worse than last year, and the run blocking's been about the same, maybe worse. I mean, probably will say about the same overall. And so that's obviously just not good enough. And again, this in the first half of the first 2 games, they scored 7 points. That's it. I mean, it's hard to win football games no matter how well your defense is playing when you're just really struggling to put up any points, especially in the first 30 minutes.
All right, while we're there's an elephant in the room on offense, I think that has to be addressed to a couple of them later in the game.
Yeah, you talk about the Mike Tomlin 4th and 1, or where are you going with this? Yeah. Let's start there then. Yeah. So it's 4th and 1, 8.5 I think minutes to go. Let me pull up the exact scenario. Yeah, 8:35 left. 4th and 1. Steelers 34. They're down. What was the score here? 23-14, I believe it was. Am I correct on that?
I'm trying to find my place as well, too, here.
or 26. I don't know what the score was.
Let's see. It was 23-14 with 8:36 left. 4th and 1 from the Steelers 34, right?
Right. And Tomlin, Ben definitely wanted to go for it. He was not trying to stay out in the field, but Tomlin punted. Now, he'll say that it basically worked. They forced, almost a 3-and-out. There was one first down the Raiders had on the first play, and then they punted, and Steelers got the ball back with 6 minutes to go at their 32. So I'm not as up in arms about that call as other people might be. I mean, I understand the idea of going for it, and I certainly wouldn't have been opposed to that, and I probably would have gone for it myself, but I didn't think it was as egregious of a situation as maybe some people do. I mean, that's going to be an unpopular opinion, I know.
It wasn't the difference in the game, I don't think, but I don't think he can boil the game down to boil. If they would have went for that and got it. But the Raiders on the ensuing possession were able to burn off 2:17 in clock time there. So that's 2 minutes that you don't have there. You are down two possessions in the game at that point there. I would have went for it. I mean, if you can't get 1 yard, then then you don't deserve to win the game, period. And it's probably 50-50 if they could have probably got the 1 yard anyway. But there was definitely a disconnect there, and Ben kind of voiced that after you could see it after the game. And the veteran quarterback always wants to go. And then to rub salt in the wound later on in the night, you see John Harbaugh ask his quarterback, "You want to go for it?" Yeah, okay, right. Let's go for it. Game on the line, who cares? Where does not living your fears meet living in your fears, right? Mm-hmm. Where is that? Was that it?
Yeah, I mean, that was a live in your fears type moment because obviously if you don't convert that, the game's basically over at that point. Raiders have the ball deep in your territory. So had it been closer to midfield, maybe the 45 plus, then I think you go for it there. But, obviously Harbaugh's decision to go for it, the Steelers weren't playing Patrick Mahomes last night, and I think there was more confidence in their defense to get it stopped, which they did to their credit. So, I mean, would I have gone for it? Yes. Do I think it was a bad decision by Tomlin? Probably. Do I think it was the worst decision of the day that was super, super costly? I don't.
And then, later on in there too, I'm not sure. And look, Chris Boswell really has been money for, that's a guy I worried about when he went through that slump a couple of years ago. Wondered, kickers and being strange animals, if they can bounce back. But, he really has been, he's one of the top kickers in the NFL easily now. For him to make that 56-yard field goal, new record at Heinz Field, and that thing cleared it by more than just a yard too. It was a money kick there. Even so, I'm not so sure I sent him out there to make that kick. Now it was 4th and 10, so yeah, your average is there. I guess you're thinking, well, odds are we're not going to convert here, and mm-hmm. we certainly can't punt in this situation here. So let's send them out there and all. But to get yourself in a 4th and 10 situation anyway, shame on you. In that situation there. But props to him, because if he misses that kick, then it's really academic at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was the right decision by Tomlin. I mean, 4th and 10 against that Raiders pass rush probably wasn't going to end too well for the Steelers had they gone for it. So, I mean, it was kind of no easy decision there. It's a 56-yarder or go for it on 4th and 10. But kudos to Boss. That was maybe the best kick he's ever had.
The analytics say go for it on 4th and 1 there. So,
Yeah, but we know Tomlin and Colbert. That's a dirty word, analytics, in their mind.
Right. All right, what about the other? Is too much going to get put on that? It probably will, because you lost and because of Ben's reaction and what the Ravens did. I'm sure that'll be a talking point at least through the rest of this day. Mm-hmm. I'm with you. It's not. I mean,
of all the list of concerns from that game, that's lower on my list.
Right. It's worth talking about. It's worth talking about. Would we do it? What does the analytics say? Should they have? Blah blah blah. But it's down the list. It is.
Right. So. But yeah, I mean, I would have gone for it. I want to make that clear. But I understand why Tomlin punted, because the idea is if you convert there and let's say you convert the yard on 4th and 1, you're at your 35, you're still a long ways away from getting points there. So it's not like if we get this, then we can really get together, drive, and let's get a field goal out of it. We should have a really good chance of doing that. It's still very much up in the air if you get points out of that. So I get why Tomlin did that. Do I agree with the decision? No, but am I going to kill the guy for making it? I'm not. All
right, the other incident on offense.
The Trey Turner.
Right.
I assume this is where this is going. Yeah, so Trey Turner ejected in the second half of this one for spitting, appearing to lead to a spit at an opponent. And Mike Tomlin, very heated reaction. Probably the most animated I've ever seen Mike Tomlin get over a situation in terms of talking with the officials. And I'm still trying to figure out what his issue with that was, to be honest with you.
What Tomlin's issue is, I guess, is their guy spit, our guy spit back. And it had to be... It had to be bad, or else Trey Turner doesn't spit back, and it's a weird defense, I guess. But I like the way Tomlin stood up for his player, and they always get the second spitter.
You and Matthew are having too much fun with that.
Matthew, boy, he was waiting in the bushes for that one.
I shouldn't even make a joke. That's gonna be really inappropriate. So,
yeah, you're not gonna. Don't talk anything about the grassy knoll or anything.
I caught myself. I didn't say that. Dave said that. So hate mail to Dave.
No, I want to say that's what Alex was thinking. So I'm gonna put it back on you here.
Can't prove that.
Look, don't spit. Plain and simple here. I understand what Tomlin. I didn't see the first guy spit. Did you?
No, and so that's why I'm confused. And even if that's Tomlin's contention, then both guys should be tossed. Not both guys should stay. I mean, Tomlin's defense is it wasn't bad enough to get a. You spit on a guy, you're gonna get tossed and that kind of stuff for it. Like, I mean, that just. So Tomlin's case should be like, why didn't the other guy get tossed? Not why did my guy. Why couldn't they both stay? Tomlin has a strong argument here.
And maybe that was his argument there, but
no, his argument was that Turner shouldn't have been tossed.
Okay,
that's the way I interpreted his answer. At least I don't know. I mean, you can't spit on somebody. Obviously.
Yeah, you can't do that, and that's obviously why he deserves to be ejected, and they should have got the other guy too.
Yeah, and Turner's about to get fined. Pretty good here.
Sure.
In this game. So,
and he deserves to be, yeah.
And I can appreciate, as you said, Tomlin's sticking up for your guy. I saw Trey Turner tweet about that after the game and say something like, thank you, Coach D. So, I mean, that's a moment where you stick up for your guy, and I understand that. But, I mean, that's all Tomlin's doing here. I don't think he's in the position of strength to argue that situation.
Right, for sure. But, I mean, it definitely hurt, you penalized that and you lose a player,
Yeah. And B.J. Finney, by the way, replaced Turner at right guard. If you're wondering who was next man up there, it was not Hassenauer. It was B.J. Finney. To no one's surprise, really.
Right. And I don't think Finney had the best of the rest of the way game off the bench either. So join the club.
Right. Yeah. All right, Dave, let's flip over to the Steelers defense. And, despite all the injuries, it was still a decent outing, not nearly as good as it was against the Buffalo Bills. But there were just some of those back-breaking moments, and none bigger than the Henry Ruggs 61-yard touchdown on 3rd and 10 at a 16-14 point in the game. And that one really, really turned the tide here.
Yeah, and before we go any further, I thought Derek Carr played a phenomenal game.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And if you would have told me before this game, and it's one of the keys, and I know it's one of your keys, and it's one of everybody's keys in this game, limit Darren Waller as much as you can. Don't let him kill you in this game, and you're probably going to win this game. Well, they did that. They limited him to 5 catches for 65 yards. If you show me that stat line there and no touchdowns, and that's all I know, I tell you that probably the Steelers and the Steelers are playing at home. I tell you the Steelers probably win that game. And so kudos to them for being able to do that. We had said you got to make guys like Henry Ruggs and Hunter Renfrow beat you. Well, they did because the Raiders really couldn't run the ball worth a dang, and not surprising behind all the issues that they've had with that offensive line there. But I thought Derek Carr played a phenomenal game in a lot of times taking what the opposing defense, what the Steelers defense gave him. Now he was helped out. Renfrow made an amazing catch over there on the right side, extended out. Was that a third down play or?
Yeah, I believe it was. Yeah.
And all, I mean, a phenomenal catch. So yeah, you sometimes you got to have players make plays for you on top of it there. But Derek Carr really, I thought, played well. 28 of 37, 382 yards and 2 TDs, and nothing bigger than answering that Steelers score with a third and whatever it was, home run over the top of Minkah Fitzpatrick. And I thought, and it'd be interesting because I don't think we've seen what happened. What was that a cover one? It just got away that Minkah just got suckered in on, and then the ball goes over his head because Ahkello Witherspoon was in the game. I don't think Ahkello Witherspoon played many snaps at all in this game defensively, and that might have been his first snap. Welcome to the Steelers. But you force your guy kind of inside what looked like a cover one out of a really, really tight formation, tight splits all the way around, I think, with the Raiders offensively there, and the guy just splits the safety on that side, and the ball went right over Minkah's head.
Yeah, that's basically my read of the play as well. I put that on Fitzpatrick. I do think Witherspoon could have been tighter to that because he's just carrying the post at that point, and he really let Ruggs kind of go. That was not his first play. It was about a second or third. They were putting Witherspoon in the second half of that one. The Raiders had run a similar-ish looking concept earlier in that half. It wasn't the exact same thing. The Steelers had a different coverage call on the play, but they basically got Minkah to come up a little bit on a 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 7, I think it was, a little bit earlier in that game. So I wonder if they saw something to try to really exploit that the second time around. And yeah, Minkah just didn't get enough depth there and crept up a little bit and then got beat over the top. And when you're facing a guy like Ruggs with legit 4.2 type speed, there's no margin for error there. It was a great throw and a great catch and a great finish. And so, yeah, ultimately I do put that on Minkah, but I think that was obviously a great throw and a great call by the Raiders.
And why was Minkah kind of cheating that to the boundary side of that when the strong side, the loaded side, was to the field side?
Because Waller was on the back side, and so you're trying to take away Waller on any sort of crossing.
All right, so him worrying too much about Waller, because he did dive down. He took a step in because Carr did a great job manipulating on that.
He did.
So they used the Steelers' own game plan against them. They must. There's something that we're going to see on the All-22, and maybe it's the play that you're talking about there, where they were maybe hoping to get a certain coverage and didn't. But once they did get that particular coverage, then that's when they took the shot there. They probably knew that at that point in the game, and great adjustment on their part to know that Minkah was doing everything he could to bracket and make sure that they kept the lid on Waller there. So it's just rare, right, to see, especially I think it looked like a cover one. We'll have to see.
Yeah, it was about that. You're right.
With Minkah on the cheating the boundary side against the strong side of the formation there, and he probably did it too because they've got him tight over there. That kind of helps me cover the more of the middle of the field situation there. But the ball went right over. I don't see how you don't put that on anybody other than Minkah.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think Witherspoon, because as soon as Ruggs broke inside, Witherspoon just kind of, I don't want to say let him go, but really didn't stay in phase on that one. But I put that on Minkah much more than I do on Witherspoon. Yeah, the play I'm talking about is 3rd and 7 in the fourth quarter, 13:06, the one that Hayward batted down. Again, it's not 1-to-1, but it felt like the Raiders saw something there because they were in a bunch look, and Minkah was trying to dive on some sort of crosser, and it just wondered if they saw something and wanted to take a shot there, because then the very next third and long they had was the touchdown to Ruggs. So that's the play I really want to watch on the All-22 when it comes out.
I mean, that was a huge turning point in the game, was it not? I mean, the Steelers had a little bit of momentum at that point, and it was a third down. What was it? 3rd and what?
3rd and 10.
3rd and 10. Man, you get a stop there. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have a chance to win that game. You get a stop there. You're going to have to get the ball back at, let's just say, you can say your own 20. Field goal to take the lead and give up the big touchdown. And it's rare for this team to give a big play. And the whole mantra, as Mike Tomlin said, is to keep a lid on things. But they did not on that play.
Right. So that's the big play defensively. There was the Trai Turner, the backbreaker, whatever you want to call it, especially when it happened.
Yeah. Beyond that, the defense again was better than the offense, which isn't saying, I guess, a whole lot. The pass rush not as effective, but still, decently effective. T.J. Watt before his injury had that great strip sack fumble. He continues just to be, amazing in the T.J. Watt that he is. Kim Hayward again was just dominating that left guard John Simpson. I mean, that dude is a big, strong guy, and Hayward continues to ragdoll those types of guys. Other thoughts on the defense, Dave? What else?
Robert Spillane, I thought, played a really, really good game for what they asked him to do in that. Joe Schobert, I thought for what Schobert was asked to do, he played well. I mean, a couple of times out, and they knew in certain instances they were going to be able to get him spotted up in single coverage. And I mean, what do you do on the Foster Moreau touchdown?
Yeah, it was good coverage. But Schobert gave up two of the bigger completions of the game. It was the touchdown to Moreau Janovich? No,
he broke that one up.
Yeah, it was a 25-yarder to Darren Waller and the touchdown to Moreau, and both of those were really good throws and catches. And there isn't probably a whole lot Schobert can do, but they were still plays made against Joe Schobert. Ultimately.
Right. And
who would have guessed that Foster Moreau was the guy to worry about at tight end for Darren Waller?
And look, I mean, props, and once again, props to them. They recognized that the Steelers' game plan, and all of us knew it, was going to try to take away Waller and shut down the run game and make other guys beat you. Well, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, 100%. And the other guys did step up. It was Ruggs, it was Moreau, it was Edwards.
Renfro had it like that. Heck, yeah, he ran away too. He poor James Pierre on one of those as well too. Got slipped on a tackle by Renfro.
Yeah, he was great, and you could definitely feel some of these younger DBs for Pittsburgh, James Pierre, Trey Norwood in particular, struggling a bit against this Raiders offense, and I think Renfro was having success over the middle of the field, which is where he wins.
Sutton missed a tackle out there on a pass that led to a big play, I think, as well too. Yeah, look, this was a team loss. I mean, without a doubt there, and I have a feeling Josh Carney was a little bit busier this week with the missed tackle report. But they did a good job against the run, and you kind of figured that they should have been able to. Obviously, not having Jacobs and 3/4 of their offensive line being makeshift and all like that. And I mean, the Steelers defense for the most part, did a decent job keeping them in the game. Had the offense done their part and made the Raiders offense a little bit more predictable, I don't know if maybe it changes things, because I think the Raiders were pretty resigned to the fact that they weren't going to be able to run the football, that they were going to have to be able to throw a lot in that game. And once again, I think Carr played an amazing game. I thought the Raiders' offensive game plan was pretty sound overall, and they made the big play when it really, really counted. That was that Carr pass to Ruggs for 61 yards.
Yeah, it wasn't too dissimilar of a game plan in terms of just overall approach as Buffalo. Spread the field out, throw the ball a lot, kind of forget about the run game. But the Raiders do it at a heavier personnel and packages. They were in a lot of 12, 13 personnel in this game, but they were spreading the field out, and they were getting their
Why can't the Steelers do that?
I mean, that's a good question. They have more talent.
Say it.
I don't know what you're.
I think they had. Is it just more? It's not talent, is it? I mean, they have three good wide receivers. The Steelers do, and they're tight ends.
I mean, I'm talking about why you're asking why the Steelers aren't in 12 and 13 personnel more,
right?
Because that's what the Raiders are doing in this one. I mean, there's more talent at receiver, I guess, and so they want to get their receivers on the field being 11 more than 13. Because if you're in 13, then those receivers aren't playing.
Well, how's that working out?
Yeah, I mean, it's not great, but I don't know if
not great, Bob.
Jack Gentry on the field is going to produce much better results.
I mean, I'm not saying go 12 or 22 as much as I am saying going 21 more.
Yeah, no, I think they should be in 21 more. So that way you keep two receivers on the field. You don't put Ebron out there to run block, and Watt's going to be on the field more. So, yeah, I think you should see that. But, I mean, the Steelers would be doing that to run. The Raiders are doing that to pass. They're in 12 personnel to run, but primarily it's going to pass the football.
Speaking of tight end in Ebron, was that a drop early by him? Did that hit him right in the hands?
It's a tough play for sure, but it hit his hands. He should have made that play. I mean, he's there to catch the football. He's not here to block. He's got to make that play.
And, Ben did a good job of avoiding and getting to that point. You got to make those plays, man.
Yeah,
especially in this offense, you've got to make those plays. And you got to make the play where the ball goes off Claypool's hands then too. If you want to boil it down, you can't run the football, you can't attack the middle of the field, then you can't have a tight end drop the ball like that on an extended play, and you can't have a football go off your second round draft picks hands in the end zone in that situation.
100%. I agree. And I'll harp on this point a lot, but this was the big thing we were going to look for is just the slow starts for this offense. The last 34 drives dating back to the 2019 season, which granted was mostly without Ben, but last 34 opening possession drives, this team has one touchdown. It's the worst in football by far. This team has to get off to a better start. It's got to have a better script, and you can blame the drop on. I think that was the first drive there that Ebron dropped that pass on third down. But this team has to start faster. I mean, they are just poor first drive. They're poor first quarter. Right now, they're poor first half, and they're playing a lot of catch up.
All right. Anything else on defense kind of stick out to you there? Ingram, I thought, played a good game overall. Trying to think if anybody in the secondary really stuck out. No, I mean. They just got tired at the end. Obviously, they were just on the field a ton, and they got worn down, and they were just playing. I mean, they had at one point just three. They really finished the game with three healthy defensive linemen because Buggs was banged up in this one too, kind of in and out of the lineup. And Hayward, as he said after the game, actually played a snap or two at nose tackle for probably the first time in his career. So they really were hurting, and their run defense started to wane a bit at the end as well because those guys were just, I think, exhausted. Yeah, that's the kind of thing we expect the Steelers situation to get in. That's how you control kind of the football game there at the end there, right? Turn loose your running game to win to eat up the clock and win the game. Absolutely, yeah. Again, time of possession battle. This team has been just getting destroyed each of the first two games, and their defense has been on the field a ton, and their defense is really good. But when they're battling injuries and just battling exhaustion, I mean, it's only going to be so good for so long. They brought in the hammer at the end. Peyton Barber, who knew? 13, that's 16, 17 and 3 is 20, 20 and 1 is 21 rushing yards by Peyton Barber on the final drive. How many rushing yards did the Raiders have in the game? That's a good question. Not many. Let me look here. 52. It's about like a third. So a little more than a third of the rushing yards came on the final possession of the game. And it set up the field goal that iced the game. So, yeah, I mean, they went from their 27 to the Steelers' 27. They did have the 25-yard completion to Waller in between there. But, yeah, they ran the ball. They burned clock. They took it down from a 4-minute offense, 3:37 down to 24 seconds. And that was when Carson made that field goal. That was ball game. All right, how worried are you about this defense right now in its current form and injuries? I'll pivot here a little bit and dodge the question. Not nearly as worried as I am about the offense. No, I'm not too worried about the defense. I think they're going to get healthy. I mean, although I'll lose, a big loss, but I think Watt will get back pretty quickly. I think Hayden and Bush will get back pretty quickly as well. So I'm not incredibly worried about them. They're still a good unit. Yeah, I'll go with you there as well too. The offense has got to start helping them out, get them off the field some, and not expect them to be constantly defending shorter fields and yada yada, those kind of things there. Offense got to put up some points in games. 17 points. I don't care who you play, not going to win a lot of ball games. Period. Right, and the Raiders are a good offense, and they're a good team, and you said Carr's a good quarterback, and that's not going to be enough to win you games late in the season and if this team makes the playoffs. How would you rate Roethlisberger's play in week 2 versus week 1? I think it was better. How good would I rate it? I'm not quite sure. I think he was better overall this game than he was against the Bills. I would agree. And if Claypool makes that catch, if Ebron makes that catch. What's going on with the miscommunication every game, 2 or 3 times a game with Deontay Johnson, it seems like?
Yeah.
That's another thing we forgot to. That's another elephant in the room.
The injury. Yeah. The slight adjustment there. But the last play of the game. Again, this is going to be an unpopular take. People obviously were upset that Tomlin called the pass play on the last game. It's meaningless, and Johnson gets hurt. We don't know what his status is right now. I'm not upset about it in the sense of, every coach is going to call a pass play. Most coaches are going to call a pass play, and though that's a freak thing, that's unfortunate. But I'm not. It's hindsight.
Yeah, it's just one more thing, though.
No, yeah, it doesn't make you feel any better. You lose the game when your receivers.
I mean, you're going to lose, and your best wide receiver, or your big playmaker there gets injured on a totally meaningless play. Right. Why even throw him? Throw it to not to go the sacrificial lamb route there, but throw it to Ray.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't expect them to kneel the ball there. I don't know. I get the people being upset, and it's frustrating for sure. And I feel like Johnson's it's gonna be one of those years where he's just gonna play through a knee injury the entire year and then have surgery like the second the season ends for him. But he's a talented player, and hopefully that knee injury doesn't bother him the way that's probably bothering him right now.
The interception down the left side they keep harping that if Deontay continues on that route, then maybe that doesn't happen. We'll see what the all 22 says on that. What happened on the deep pass the other side in the no man's land over there? Was Deontay expecting a back shoulder or something like that, and Ben was expecting him to go deep?
Yeah, it's a slight adjustment. Should that route be converted to the comeback, or are you going to run it vertical? And it's just based on leverage and how much of a step you think you have on the guy. And Johnson obviously had the adjustment to run the comeback, and Ben thought he was going to go deep on that play.
They can't pin this game on Danny Smith, can they?
I don't think so. Boswell had the kick, and there were no special team blunders. Harvin, I think, had a better performance in week 2. 3 of his 4 punts were inside the 20, so a good day by him.
What about that one return by Ray? Should he have stayed outside?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I think he should have, but I understand at some point you want to get vertical and get upfield, and if you can make that cut and then get vertical, then you might have a chance to really break it. So I'm going to have to watch that one back, I think.
And the other thing I have on my notes here is, what about the hit by Robert Spillane on Derek Carr?
Yeah, I guess to the letter, it's the right call, but man, I don't know what these guys are supposed to do. Carr's running, he's sliding super late. I mean, should Spillane just let him run? It's such a tough position to be in. It's like watching these college games.
I think it's an unfortunate what happened, but I think it was the right call. So how's that? I'll join you in the unpopular opinion category of the show here.
And did he hit him? Did he hit Carr in the helmet, though? It felt like it was.
Well, I mean, it's kind of the crown, he's lowered the crown of the helmet and made contact up in that head and neck area, and that's what they're trying to get away from there. So, but yeah, I mean, I also thought that they should have called that one on, was it Crosby on Ben?
Yeah, I think so.
That one should have been. I think it'd be interesting to see a different angle of that one for sure on the all 22. But and the Ben one happened technically I think the offensive play before the Carr one, right? Because wasn't that a third down play or something or a fourth down play, and then on the very next play was the Carr scramble because the changeover on downs. So I think that was a one. I think that's what my memory is telling me. Because didn't the Steelers go for it on fourth down there, and the pressure got to Ben, and Ben, it was an incomplete pass there, and it wasn't it like the very next play that it was fourth and it was 2 plays later, because the Steelers turned it over on downs early in the second with the incomplete pass by Roethlisberger, and that was that hit that they missed. Peyton Barber left tackle for 4 yards, and then Carr scrambles up the middle for 5, and then Spillane gets the unnecessary roughness. So I think Spillane, we're going to be writing up some fines on Saturday.
Yeah, should mention Chase Claypool was fined this past week for pulling the player off the pile or whatever little altercation he got into with Micah Hyde there. So an $8,300 and change fine there for Chase Claypool, and more on the way this week probably for Robert Spillane and Trey Turner.
All right. For now, I think we've gone through this pretty good. We will talk a little bit more about it on Wednesday, I think, after we have some more tape to look at.
Yeah, be back hopefully with a beat writer on either Wednesday or Friday, and review the tape. Tonight we'll have our live stream over on our YouTube channel at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Dave and I talking with you guys for an hour. I'm sure we'll get some interesting questions there tonight. But we'll be back on Wednesday.
I don't reckon we're going to have any emails in here asking us if we're going to change our record prediction this week, right?
Yeah, I do want to, and this is the subject of my terrible take today, is, just be careful where this is to fans by and large of riding that emotional roller coaster that is the season. And it is still 2 games into this thing. We got really high after the win against the Bills. You get really low after the loss to the Raiders. Let's see how the season looks after 4 weeks, after the 4th game, and take it from there.
Boy, they all came running, didn't they, after that win against Buffalo, wanting us, what do you guys think? Ha, ha, ha. And then, we said, look, you got to win the games that you're supposed to win, and they probably should have won that one yesterday, and they didn't. Mm-hmm. And here we are, 1-1, right where we probably thought they would be, just different path there. So, look, against the Bengals, it's not a must-win game against the Bengals, but you better win it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Right?
Yeah, I'm with you. You lose to the Bengals, you drop to 1-2. That hurts doubly because you're 1-2 and you lose to the Bengals, the AFC North team you quote unquote should be beating. That would hurt a lot.
All right, let's go to the email machine here. Jelani writes in, Dave and Alex, hope all is well. The O-line and the offense, I and you guys know will be a talking point for almost every single week of the season, whether it's good or bad. But unfortunately, it looked really bad with Ben getting hit 10 times. What do you guys see as the ceiling for this O-line and offense in general, in terms where you guys think they will rank come season end? Man, I hate these early. I mean, it's looking like that this team is going to have to rely on defense and special teams touchdowns until this offense figures it out. Thanks as always. It's so hard right now, 2 games in, to say this is where we see them at. And we warned that this was going to be a work in progress on the offensive side of the ball, that it was probably going to be clunky at least the first quarter of the season. So, can you get to that quarter point and at least be, 3-2 or what have you? We'll see here. But they got to be able to run the football, plain and simple. You got to have a better success rate. Things are not going to get better if you can't run the football. And, once again, you ain't got to run it a lot, but you got to run successful when you do. And then also you're going to have to be able to have Ben be able to connect further down the field. His completed air yard distance was horrible again yesterday, Alex. And you're just not going to win a lot of games expecting to catch short and run long. We saw that last year, did we not? And the year before that? And
the year before that. I'm with you. In terms of the question, what do I personally see this offense ceiling being? And obviously these thoughts will change over time. It'll be easier to answer this question 8 weeks into it than it is going to be after 2. I think right now they're currently like a bottom 7 offense, maybe 25th in football, just kind of rough guesstimation. I think their ceiling's probably about average, about maybe the 16th best offense in football as this offensive line grows a bit and they play up to their potential. So that's personally where I see the ceiling for this offense at right now. Average.
All right. Let's move on here to Will Fernandez. Beginning with the first half last week and most of the game yesterday, it appears that the offense is quite predictable again. The short, quick passes, to be specific, wasn't the purpose of naming Matt Canada as offensive coordinator because of his creative play calling. Why isn't this offense attacking the middle field more beyond 10 yards? Is it because of the inexperience and lack of cohesion of the offensive line and to protect Ben? And Canada continues to call these short passes. Thank you for excellent coverage as always. I think we hit hopefully on a lot of that. I mean, a lot of middle of the field safety type situations is seemingly enough of a deterrent, and they're not influencing maybe those linebackers, getting them to come up and bite enough on either misdirection stuff or runs up the middle that's not allowing for situations where Ben can hit past the 10 yard mark. First and foremost, it's funny. People say predictable. I'm how predictable is it, Alex?
Well, yeah, I try to stay away from that term unless there's something really specific to talk about, just because that can be such a vague catch-all that doesn't necessarily mean anything in particular. That I try to, if I'm going to use that term, I'm going to be more specific with examples or some other way to phrase it.
In other words, just the cool kids say it's predictable because it makes it sound like I don't view it that way yet. Come talk to me about predictable later on. They're just not executing a run, not able to push the football down the field near enough. Period.
Yeah, it's just a lot of the same issues as last season. And again, to me, it goes back to the 1st and 10 offense just being so poor. And if you're not a good 1st and 10 offense, a very Captain Obvious statement coming. If you're not a good 1st and 10 offense, you're not going to be a good offense in general.
And yeah, they need to figure out some things to do, maybe more with this motion to help influence and try to stretch the defense out in the middle of it to find some running lanes there.
I would agree. I'm very interested to see what the motion numbers are from Tom Mead once we chart this game, just to see what it looks like the first 2 weeks.
Call 3 straight end rounds if you have to, or whatever, to get them to start respecting that stuff a little bit more, Jonathan Mason writes in, Alex and Dave, I'm sure y'all will evaluate Ben today, but how much do y'all put Ben's play on the offensive line? So far, these first 2 games, it seems he's been hit a lot more, and I know sometimes he holds the ball too long. I actually think he plays pretty well when he has a clean pocket. Also, where's the chances we see Joe Haig start over Chooks before Banner comes back? Yeah, good question about the Haig over Chooks. Chooks did not play great in the first game. I thought he played better in the second game. It just seems like an easy scapegoat there when it comes to Chooks overall. But here's the thing. You can't have Ben take some of them hits that he took in. We said that earlier in the show, right? Mm-hmm. He can't continue to get hit like that. And you limit those kind of hits by being able to run the football better and not have your quarterback drop back 40 times in a game for starters there. How much of y'all put Ben's play on the offensive line? I think Ben played better in week 2 than he did in week 1. Just unfortunately, he took more hits along the line on top of it there. Some of those guys got to help him out down the field as well, too. So, yeah, the offensive line is something that we've talked about for all offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a great way to answer and quantify trying to separate out Ben's play versus the O-line's play. They all have to play better. There's no doubt about that. It just depends on the play you're talking about. In some situations, Ben's play might be negatively influenced by the offensive line, and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's just his own dang fault. So, I mean, it's hard to answer that broadly.
Matt Smith writes in, good morning, guys. I'll be brief. Is it time for Eric Ebron to meet with the Bobs? Peace and love and groins, he writes. I mean, are you going to cut after restructuring him and all like that? Are you just going to cut him out right now? I mean, you're just going to have to find it's clear this team needs to move forward with Freiermuth, I think, more, but they also going to have to figure out ways of getting creative with Ebron in the passing game and utilize his ability to function kind of as a wide receiver, and he needs to catch the football when it's thrown to him.
Yeah, I mean,
he's gone after this year anyway. Yeah, period.
100%.
I mean, we've known that for a while now. So, and look, I mean, people got on me the moment Eric Ebron was signed. That one of the first things I put on Twitter is I wonder if they can put his hands in some sort of kind of a stretcher to help him catch the football. And I took a lot of abuse for that. And what has been the MO on Eric Ebron?
Yeah, his hands are poor, but I mean, that shouldn't be any fan that's surprised by that. I don't know what they were.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, no, I understand. No, I remember that reaction. But yeah, I mean, he's been as advertised. But yeah, his role's definitely shrinking. Like Freiermuth was a starter technically yesterday, and I'm pretty sure outsnapped Ebron. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but I think probably by a considerable margin. And so if you're a number 2 tight end that doesn't block well at all, then what is your role and your purpose on this team? It starts to shrink.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. And look, I mean, he's not going to catch what he caught last year, I don't think, right? Especially with Freiermuth being there now.
Yeah, it looks like 24 offensive snaps for Ebron yesterday. What was that number for Freiermuth? Freiermuth played 33. So, yeah, it snapped him by 9 snaps there.
All right, moving right along here to the email machine, we go to Sim Football Critic. He writes in, not giving the run game a chance. What's up, Dave and Alex? I need you guys to talk me off the ledge. We're already having to talk people off the ledge in week 2. I know the offensive line still needs time to gel and grow up quickly, which I'm sure plays a big part in the run game not being successful as it could be. However, at halftime, Najee was 6 for 30, which doesn't sound like a lot, but at that point, he was 4.3 yards per carry. Why are we using yards per carry? Sim Football Critic, you listen to the show enough. You know not to use yards per carry. Success rates, brother. Please explain to me how he finishes with just 10 carries. I know the Steelers were down, but not to the point where they were ever really out of the game. I feel like the Steelers back off of the run too soon. Yesterday looked like the typical Roethlisberger pass attack offense. The run game will never get going if you're not going to give Najee more than 10 attempts. They probably should have tried to run Najee a little bit more, but they probably figured they got tired of banging their head up against it.
Yeah, that's the issue is, you want to try to run and maybe push through, but if it's not being effective and you're down in the game, then, you're decreasing your chances of winning. They just start running a lot of plays. So in terms of some of the numbers, I mean, they just don't possess the football a lot. They've run, I think, like the 4th fewest plays of any offense that's played 2 games so far this season, excluding the teams that play Monday night. So they're just not possessing the ball enough to get a lot of volume of plays to work with. So that's why some of these numbers are down, but partially it's just been ineffective, and so they're just trying to do things to win games, which is very much what they had to do last season.
All right, moving right along here. Paul, let's see, Paul Brown writes in, Chris Boswell, first kudos to Boz for setting the Heinz Field record, the longest field goal by drilling 56-yarder. On another note for Boz, something I noticed the first 2 weeks is kickoffs are only going to the 10-yard line. This has been setting up the potential for big returns and even got burned in week 1. Is this something Danny Smith asked Boz, or is it an execution thing? We know he has the leg to boot it out of the end zone. Why isn't he? We can only guess and just guess that he's being told to kind of try to pin him back a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's different factors in week 1. There was a win factor for sure. I have an answer to that in my mailbag, because if you go back and look at my Ask Alex from this past Thursday, I have a longer answer there than probably what I can detail right now that kind of lays out some of that stuff. But there's different factors to it, and I think I laid that out in the mailbag article.
George Harris writes in, hey, George in Virginia here. Dave, I know it's a rough loss, but how excited are you to speculate about groins? Look, I hate having to speculate about groins, and I hate that we had to have Dr. Melanie Friedlander write up an article that's now live on Steelers Depot about groins. So, I've joked about it in the past and all, but you hate to see any guys get injuries there, especially groin injuries and all. So, quick question though. He says, had it been a 16-game season, what would have your record prediction have been? Does it feel like 8-8, 9-7, or 10-16? Oh Lord.
I think we're both past thinking about season prediction records.
Yeah, I mean. We predict at the beginning of the season because we're expected to predict, but this thing changes so much from a week-to-week basis here, and so much can happen there. So I don't know if it makes you feel any better. Maybe I would have gone, 9-7. I don't know. George. Cosmo writes in, listening to the post-game radio show, there were multiple yins saying they are done with Roethlisberger. He needs to be benched. I don't think he played particularly bad. His deep balls weren't atrocious. I don't think Big Ben was the problem on Sunday. He goes on to say, I swear to God, the next yinzer that says running game will get fixed by putting Derek Watt in the backfield. I'm going to wet my terrible towel and smack them in the face. Taking a wide receiver off the field and adding a fullback just brings an extra center in the box that is not going to fix this running game. More yins complaining that we did not run the ball enough. I love running the ball, but when our run success rates stink and we are facing second and long frequently, it's unrealistic to run the ball more. Ebron seems nice, but he needs to join Jalen Samuels, he writes. Look, it's not going to hurt to put Watt out there a couple plays. Like Alex and I said, look, yes, the thing that we want to highlight is if Watt is on the field, somebody's not on the field. So that's a decision there that you have to make, and that assumes that you're still going to have one tight end on the field. It's probably going to be Freiermuth at this point. I wouldn't mind seeing a series of it. I'm not saying that Watt's got to play 22 snaps a game, but where you're going to see him used more, and it's an obvious situation, is later in the games. If you have run well, well, then you're going to put the fullback on the field to hopefully run more successfully late. Correct, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see him in those situational moments, at least you would think, some of the short yardage type stuff. But, I mean, they had a 4-minute offense against the Bills, and he didn't play, and they just threw the ball a lot. So, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with seeing Watt a little bit, but I also recognize, and I agree with the reader, that Watt's presence alone is not going to be the cure-all to this run game, because you're not going to play the guy 30 snaps a game.
Right, but you can do some stuff with him on the field. Weren't they running the wheels with him and trying to throw to him a little bit?
Yeah, I don't want to throw the ball to Derek Watt.
I'm not saying 20 times, 20 times a season, but it's just one extra layer that you can, do that you're not doing yet.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the idea of Watt is let's try to do something a little bit different just to get some better results here. I mean, just for a couple snaps a game, start your first series with a fullback for 1st and 10. I mean, I'm fine with that, but I agree that he's not going to be the cure-all because he's not going to be guy that's playing predominantly of the majority of the time.
What's the right amount of snaps for Watt or series for Watt to play in the first half of a game?
I don't know what the number is. It can just vary, but I would like to see him at least 1 or 2 snaps. I mean, let's just start there and see how it looks and get some reps on that and kind of go from there.
All right. Michael writes in, really, dear men of the terrible podcast, please explain the reason for punting on 4th down and 1 yard to go when you need 2 scores and only have about 9 minutes left in the game. P.S. Offense looks bad. Need more passes behind center to help the run game. Sincerely, MLR. I think we hit on that pretty good already, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we discussed that one earlier in the show.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add on these? Let's see, one more here. Simon Short. This one's from, let's see, Darren writes about, love the show. Glad the season's back. Not just football, but also because I get 3 episodes a week. He wants to understand, have got hit by the injury bug on defense, but offense has definitely not hit its stride yet this year. Anyway, my main gripe now is Deontay. I could have my eyes closed. And if you hear the announcer say miscommunication on that pass, I instantly know it is Johnson. He makes some great catches, but it sure seems like the focus is not there a lot of the time. How would you answer that?
You said about Deontay's focus?
Yeah, he says right now I wouldn't sign him to a second contract. Am I being too hard on him? That's my vent. Thanks for the best Steelers coverage in the business. Darren.
No, I appreciate the email. I mean, I'm not thinking about should I sign a guy to a second contract. I mean, those decisions aren't being made now, so let's just see how the whole season goes. I think he's a talented player. I'm not. There's no point to me answering that question because our thoughts are going to change 17 times over.
Simon Short writes in, David Knox, think I saw a shot of Josh Dobbs on the sideline during the Raiders game. You did. Can you guys elaborate on where he stands on the team in terms of IR, waived, etc.? Is he technically on the roster until coming off of IR? And what does that mean for his weekly participation? Is practicing or just rehabbing from injury? In team meetings, ? I'd love to learn the minutia of this situation. Joshua Dobbs was placed on IR before week 1 of the season. That was part of the trim down to 53, so he did not technically survive it to the 53. So with him being on IR now, he is not eligible to return. So in order for Joshua Dobbs, so he is on IR, so he's technically on the team. He is getting paid. I assume he can go to rehab. He can go to the meetings and all like that. He just can't practice with the team. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, so in other words, a glorified kind of extra set of eyes quarterbacks coach, if you will, essentially is what he is. In order for Joshua Dobbs to play, for not only the Steelers, any team this season, he will have to be released from IR and then either re-signed by the Steelers or signed by another team. So that's where they are at with Joshua Dobbs right now. He's getting paid. He's part of the team. He's just he cannot return and play for the Steelers unless he's cut.
Right. And so, yeah, that's his status. He is part of the team, though, and he can be on the sidelines for games, as you saw yesterday.
Charles Davis, this is the title from Drew Bell. Is Charles Davis related to Jonathan Abram? I don't know. Is that something to do with that, with Najee throwing him aside or something there?
I'm not sure what the reference is. I'm guessing he means that Charles Davis was like talking up Abram a lot during the game. I'm guessing probably what the implication is. But I didn't even catch that, so I'm not sure. I mean, I obviously don't think they're related.
All right, that's a good stopping point, I think, Alex. At let's see, 1 hour and about 40 minutes in here. So, anything else you'd like to add? What do you got coming up this week?
Well, tonight we have the live stream, and
right.
We'll do the charting, and we'll do some film rooms for hopefully the morning, and we'll hopefully get you all 22 a bit quicker and go from there. But just perspective is key. This loss sucks, no question. There's issues, but this team's 1-1, and it's 2 weeks into the season.
Absolutely, and they technically are the number 2 seed in the AFC. So let's end on a positive there, Alex.
Okay. I like
this Steelers team is number 2 in the AFC right now, behind the Raiders. And that's where they are. So look, it definitely could be worse. Just beat the Bengals in week 3, and let's go from there. In the meantime, you can follow me on the Twitter machine at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, please go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button, upper right navigational bar. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, please go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button for $25 for 1 calendar year. You can have an ad-free version of the site. So until Wednesday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.